Salutations, fam. This is Dark Slayer Reem from Haltesia Gaming, and I recently got a request on one of my previous deck profiles about the cost of the last list that I was playing, and it came up to about $365 when I priced everything out. And they asked if it was possible to play Blue Eyes on a lower budget. Now, the thing about budget means something different for every player, and for one player a budget might mean $30. For another, a budget might mean $500. So the budget that they responded with was about 150 euros. And so I went back into the shop, went to the lab, and I basically put together a deck list for a significantly lower price range of about 140 $42 or something like that when I priced it up on Yu-Gi-Oh! Top Decks. But anyway, it's pretty much a very standard ish list, but it's like a lot of the price reductions are coming from like the fact that I'm playing more budget friendly tech options. But without further ado, we're gonna hop right into it and I will talk more about things as they are relevant. So, as usual, we got three Blue Eyes, two alternatives, and one Dragon Spirit of White. Because we have less of a budget to work with, we're leaning more into a more traditional Blue Eyes deck where you play more of the Blue Eyes monsters. And then we're going to be playing one copy of Chaos Dragon Levianeer. This card is actually pretty cheap because of the reprint, so it's still like a power card that you can play, but it's also like relatively cheap. Um, Next up, we got three copies of Sage with Eyes of Blue, one copy of Master with Eyes of Blue. We are foregoing a lot of stuff because we have less of a budget to work with, but yeah, standard stuff. Three copies of Stone of Ancients and one copy of Stone of Legend. Again, we're leaning more into the actual like Blue Eyes engine because that's usually a lot cheaper than facilitating more engines. We're gonna play Keeper of the Shrine because basically the gimmick behind this deck is you summon Blue Eyes and you just try to make yourself really really hard to kill. Um, Keeper of Shrine is really good for that because it allows you to just kind of like keep looping your dragons and things like that. And then for the last of the monsters, we're playing three copies of Effect Veiler. I cannot find my third Ultra. But yeah, you want to have, one hand trap Veiler is stupidly cheap. You can play pretty much any cards you want for the 9 tech slots. But these are the ones I'm going to be playing are the Veiler and the other two I'll go over later. One copy of One for one copy of Foolish Burial, three copies of Dragon Shrine, as because we want to send our stones to the grave, have those one card starters get our board presence established. Three copies of Trade In, and the two copies of Melody of the Awakening Dragon. Um, Melody is a lot better when you have Levianeer, and so like you can't like I couldn't really fit Chaos Emperor into the budget, but Chaos Dragon Levianeer is still a pretty good payoff to playing this card, so it's pretty nice. And being able to just, have alternative online. Three copies of Return of the Dragon Lords, the one Monster Reborn, one Called by the Grave, three Book of Moon, and three copies of Solemn Strike. Originally, I was playing Lost Wind in the deck and like Silver's Cry and everything, but then like I actually looked at the deck and it was so much cheaper. I was like, oh, we can afford a little bit stronger card because I think I was playing like Lost Winds. I wasn't playing certain cards in the extra deck. I think I was playing like Silver's Cry, but just overall, it was like I was playing. You can make the deck even cheaper. Um, I think that at a bare minimum to like play the deck, you will need about like $50. I want to say. Um, but yeah, this is what we've got for the main deck. We'll move on to the extra deck now. Link Karibo, this card is kind of necessary. You want to be able to like link off your monster. It increases the consistency of your deck by allowing you to be able to normal summon your link monster, their level ones, and then link them off to trigger their effects in the grave. Um, Next up, we've got the Cypher Blade package. We've got Cypher Dragon, Full Armor, and Cypher Blade Dragon. You know, have that. This package just gives you a way to break apart boards and have have that kind of power play to really just kind of like just tear apart an opponent's board and potentially set up for game best rank game in the game. We got our boy Dingirsu. Non-targeting, send to the graveyard, helps you out Dragoon. Yeah, I wasn't playing this originally because I wasn't sure I could afford it, but then we threw it in there. Cloud Castle. We got Cloud Castle, Archosaur, and Vermilion Dragon mech for our level 9 synchros. Cloud Castle helps you, kind of gives you that grind game, I guess, because basically, like, this special summons a level 9 from the graveyard. So yeah, like, after you've used one of these already, if you want to get it again, you can just kind of summon this and it'll summon it from the graveyard. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Next up, we've got 2 copies of Black Rose Moonlight, 2 copies of Azure Eyes Silver Dragon, 2 copies of Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, and the last card in the extra deck is going to be 1 copy of Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. And that's pretty much it for the extra deck. Now we move on to the side deck. We've got... Oh wow, that's creating a glare. Let's move this frame. There we go. Anyway, we've got our copy of... This guy is the best staple of every side deck. Dino Wrestler Pankratops. He's also very, very cheap. So, 1 copy of Pank. 3 copies of our Kaiju friend. Go ahead and tribute over those Dragoons. Tribute over that Herald of Ultimatus. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. Yeah, this card is kind of expensive, like when you're building a budget on like a really low budget, because this is about $5 a copy. But it's still, if you have a bigger budget, you can afford this. This helps you deal with those like crazy combo decks like Drytron, Dragon Link, etc. You can just kind of Dark Ruler and then turn off their board so you can play. 3 copies of a Twin Twisters. This is still a very cheap staple. You have choice between Twin, Cosmic, MST. And if you're really, really scraping the bottom of the barrel, maybe you can play like Typhoons too. The 1 Duster and the 1 Red Reboot. Duster is still relatively cheap because of the structure deck reprint. And then lastly, we're playing 3 copies of a Pointer of the Red Lotus. Sorry, this isn't going first. Rip a card out of your opponent's hand. But yeah, hopefully this is something that can make the deck a bit more accessible to you. Yeah, this has been Darkslayer Reem from Haltessia Gaming. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful day.